Hi, folks. Welcome to another 10 Talk. I'm excited today. Kristen Foley, who's a third grade teacher here in Bloomington, Illinois, is joining. This is actually her third 10 Talk. So if you haven't seen all three, if you haven't seen the other two, go grab those because she does connect them all. But this one's going to center on technology. And I know we think we've all had our fill of that, but I love the way Kristen's going to give some really great ideas, actually user strategies, which I think is really good for us to mix together because as we all know, teachers are creative and they can take them even further. So my name is Nancy Latham. I'm from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Kristen, I desperately need this. I need the
Don't we all? Right, don't we all? I mean, we're always learning, and the great thing is there's a lot of resources out there. So you don't know something, you Google it and look up the video and you watch the video and you're like, woo, I just learned something from another creative soul that was willing to put it in video for us. So I've come up with 10 things that I think will help teachers. We're flexible and our minds are set up to juggle multiple thoughts. We know how to avoid obstacles and switch course when necessary. And thinking about what might happen during lessons and planning for those curveballs is really going to help us have smooth delivery, maximize the time we have to deliver instruction, but it's also going to help students because they're going to feel calm and more supported when we feel confident with our tech and we don't overwhelm them. So here are 10 tech tips that I think will help you navigate remote learning. First of all, setting expectations. Is it okay if they come in a little late or do you want them on time? What does it mean to be prepared? How would you like them to use their microphone or the chat area? So setting that up early on, reiterating it, because sometimes they don't have the same rules from maybe different formats. If they talked with their teachers over the summer, or if they do Facebook Messenger Kids with friends or Google Duo with grandparents, it's a different format, right? Different audience. That's more informal. It's small group. But in the classroom, it's different. So they have to kind of code switch here and know which one they're doing. Early on, you might run into a lot of issues with technology. I know I did. So I created a family handout. I was teaching the kids in class, but the parents needed to know too. So I made this issue suggestion chart so that if your charger isn't working or your device won't power on, here are a few suggestions. Try these things. And if they don't work, let me know. I'll organize a swap for your device. Or if you get internet connection unstable, that's something at your home that you'll have to do, such as move your computer closer to your router or hotspot. If you had an Ethernet cable and that was an option, you could plug it in. You could purchase a booster extender type thing to help flow that Wi-Fi throughout your house. So there's some different things that I was trying to offer to parents before we just swapped devices, because sometimes it wasn't the device. And then I also was teaching the students, because oftentimes they would say something like, I can't hear you, or my sound isn't working, or my video is glitchy. And it was in the middle of my teaching. So I was trying to empower them and teach them the troubleshooting steps so that they or their family members could fix the issue more independently and not interrupt as much during class time. Because oftentimes they could do it if they just stopped and thought, oh wait, I know how to do this. I have the tools, I know what to do. So we reviewed this a lot in the beginning. For example, if your sound stops working, step number 1, if you're using headphones, unplug them, replug them in. Maybe it just needs to be redone there. Check your sound icon at the bottom in the Windows notification area. Is it muted? Is it the scroll bar down? Those sorts of things where they could try it first. Always restarting the computer is a good idea. That fixes a lot of problems. And then if it still didn't work, they could let me know and I would try to help them as soon as possible. But you also need to let them know, what do they do if they have a problem, a classmate has a problem, or the teacher has a problem? Because if I'm helping a student, a classmate with the problem, and they're sitting there fine, ready to learn, they're going to get frustrated. They might get antsy. I might lose them altogether. So I'm going to, remind them, always stay calm. Try to stay quiet, because we don't want everyone trying to talk and give their advice. Let me try it first with the student. You can also maybe have a doodle notepad next to you or doodle on your dry erase board. I gave all my students a stress ball so they could use that for their fidgets. What do you want them to do during that time? The biggest one would be if I had a tech issue, right? So if I dropped the call, if I had an internet outage, do they all just get to leave and the day's over? No. Stay calm, stay quiet, and then read a book from your book box, and I'll be on as soon as I can. Which, teachers, if you don't know this, if your internet goes out, you can use your phone as a hotspot, and that'll get you back on. Very, very important little tidbit there when all of a sudden you're like, what do I do? I dropped my class. Also, though, I learned early on that there are a lot of technology icons, a lot of terminology with multiple terms sometimes, these symbols that kids need to know, and their functions as well. So I was making a lot of cards to say, you know, refresh. This is what refresh looks like. Try refreshing your web page. Or if I would say minimize or maximize, there are so many different symbols for that. So I was having to teach them, if you're in this program, it'll be a little dash. If you're in this program, it'll be arrows pointing in. If you're in this you know, and sometimes I'd be like, oh, I don't have a card for that. I'd grab my marker and my Post-it note and I'd quick draw it for them. And I'd say, this is how you exit full screen. You're looking for this image. And so that was kind of fly by the seat, figure it out as I go. But the terminology is so important too, because, you know, let's say we're talking about Google and all of its programs, and there's this 9-square grid. Some people call it a grid, some people call it a gallery, some people call it a waffle. It's also Google Apps. So are you going to teach them all those words, or are you just going to call it the waffle and the student doesn't know the word waffle and is thinking you're talking about food, right? So we have to teach them this stuff and be patient and not overwhelm them, take it nice and slow, because even though we know they're a tech savvy generation, they don't know it all. Neither do we. We're kind of learning together.
Absolutely. And that's no matter what the age group.
Yes, yes. And then I learned that my mouse could be more easily identified if I just made a few quick modifications. So as you can see, my mouse has that yellow highlight around it. And all I did was Google it and found a video, did the few quick steps, and now I've customized it so it's highlighted and easier for the students to see. And there are a lot of options. Just be sure that it's enhancing and not distracting, because there are some pretty crazy ones out there, even like where it can trail behind. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of making me dizzy. We don't want the trailing and whatnot for teaching. I've mentioned the importance of step-by-step guides, but again, it's so important if you can take the time to go through the program first yourself, take a few snips with your snipping tool, annotate it here with some captions and arrows, and then do a play-by-play and teach it to the students slowly. Sure, you could do it live too, but this way I always have it, and I can even save this file and post it to my Google Classroom for parents to use, or for me to pull these slides again, you know, the next time we take the test, to go through the steps with the students one more time at a quicker pace, because they have been exposed already to it. And then Zoom has so many features. I use Zoom polls, and you can do them anonymously, or it could be tied to the students. You can download reports after the meeting ends. I like to use it to include a little humor and build class community and get quick feedback from students. But, you know, a check-in or a checkout survey would work as well. You also have Google Forms and other methods, but I like that this one's built in. So I make my Would You Rather Wednesday poll question in here, and then every Tuesday night when I'm planning, I just pull it up and I edit the question and I edit the 2 choices, and it's saved for me to pull up the next morning. Zoom has some reactions. The 2 ones that are on your front toolbar are the clap and the thumbs up. So you could ask students, you know, as we're doing this activity today, if you agree to a thumbs up, or after each student shares out, use the clap to give them some nonverbal feedback. But Zoom also has other nonverbal feedback icons located in the participant section. Here's my favorite, raise hand. Because yes, I have this red-green paddle, but sometimes if I don't see every student, or I'm focused on the lesson and I don't notice it on my grid, that hand will pop up on my screen, and it'll even say the name, you know, Braden raised his hand. And so I can, without a beat, saying, Braden, what's your idea? Or what were you thinking? And then you can lower the hand when the student's done sharing.
Yeah, the one thing I've noticed is the reactions go slower and have a lag time as compared to the Zoom, where they're actually raising their hand or whatever. Those seem to be immediate, because sometimes if you ask a question and say thumbs up and it's lagging, you ask the next question and you think they thumbs down. There's a little bit of a lag in the reaction, so you got to allow for that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, definitely. Upload and download speeds will vary too, depending on the Wi-Fi for different people. So
yeah.
Definitely. So when you share your screen in Zoom, you could share the whole thing, but like, for example, I'm sharing it with a portion of it. So I picked the screen I wanted, my slide, and I'm not sharing video with audio or playing music. So I didn't need to check the box, share computer sound, but I do on my morning warm up. because I play music for the students from my Amazon playlist so they can check their sound and their sound level. And if I forget to check that, they don't hear anything. So you have to check it when you're sharing a video that has audio or if you're playing music. After you pick your screen though, go to the next tab called Advanced, and that's where you can click portion of screen. And there's a green box that'll pop up that you can stretch to the size you want. And that's what I use all the time because I can watch my slide deck and see what's coming up. I can jump around if I need to. I can look at my tabs and navigate to different websites without having to do a lot of stopping, sharing, and moving things on screens. And then finally, Zoom has annotations, which you'll find when you're sharing your screen. In that bar, you'll have an option for it. It might be based on the host allowing it. So if you're the host or you're sharing co-hosting with someone, they would need to turn that on in their settings. But here are my favorites. Drawing. So you have the traditional drawing tools. Stamping is really good. It's got a check mark. So if you had a checklist, you could use the stamp to check it off. And then Spotlight. Spotlight will be like a red laser beam, like your traditional laser pointer, but it will also have a red arrow. And so if I'm not able to do it today, but if I was able to do it, a red arrow would pop up and it would say Mrs. Foley next to the red arrow. And you can see right where I was talking to the students, and then you X out of it and you tap and this red arrow pops up again in the next place you want to draw their attention to. So Zoom Annotations is another great feature. So those are my 10 tips, tech tips for remote learning. And there will always be bumps in the road with technology, we know that, but you are going to have a smoother ride if you focus on establishing expectations with your students, empowering them, and then being willing to explore yourself and try some things. It'll be well worth your time.
Oh, absolutely, Kristen. These are great ideas. And the top 10, our top 10 lists are always good, but these that are from Kristen's 10 talks, really, you're almost going to be able to just work your way through and each one and try it your way, which is really very cool. I think it's they're all of them are very applicable. So thank you, Kristen. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Yes, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.